Oh, oh no. I went live without doing the banner. We're live. I didn't do the banner.
It's a hard live.
Yeah, so what is, oh my
live.
God. What kind of a production assistant are you?
Well, you did it. I mean, you just did it.
I know, but you could have done it. Yeah, anyway. So we're here with Loo The ANimated Place, who I missed. Oh, somebody's echoing. You got to shut that other one off, Lou.
Nah. I was like playing. I was playing the video on another device.
Yep. So it turns out you have a YouTube site. You are an atheist. You are not an evolution denier, and I mistook you for somebody else. And
at first that's what I was thinking, but then nah, he can't mess up that bad.
Oh, I mess it up all the time because I'm glancing at chat and I'm trying to keep everybody's name straight, and then we get all these shall I call them assholes that change the name of their they change their name all the time, so you don't know who the hell you're talking to. People, you should stick with one name when you have like a YouTube persona. I think one name is a good idea because that way people know who the hell they're talking to. But yeah, I screw it up all the time. I apologize.
Say
anyway,
didn't you see like my profile picture? The cat with glasses.
Yes.
Or like when you were on Gmail, right?
Yep, I did.
And it didn't, cross your mind that you're talking with this guy?
No. Nope. If you could just peer inside my mind at 5 o'clock in the morning and see all the things that are going on inside my mind, you would run away horrified. There are so many things going on in there that it's really hard for me to keep anything straight about anything. But anyway, we were talking about standing for truth backstage. So anyway, last night we went to this. He's been producing this chart of radiometric dating with argon 36, argon 40 radiometric dating. And he's been producing this chart. So I went on John Maddox's stream, had a little short back and forth with Maddox. I asked for the source of that chart, and Maddox said, "Oh, of course, Speeda Pudding is going to ask for the source." And yeah, that's what you do. You ask for the source. So SFT told me it was in contested bones. So I went and looked at contested bones, and lo and behold, they have a chart there. And so I pop that up. Let's see. Hang on a second. That would be on my Kindle. So I found the chart, and let me share the screen. It's important to get the sources of these things, because Standing for Truth is real cocky. He says, why should I trust radiometric dating when they got all of these things wrong? And he's constantly doing that stuff, and he sounds so confident, and he really got a gotcha, right? So they got this chart, and they got this Hulalai basalt, which they know was extruded in 1800 to 1801, right? And the measured age of it was 1.6 million years, according to them. And then they go on and they list all these other problems with radiometry, all these things that they got wrong. Now, if you go and look here, they have 7, 8, 9, 10. If you can see right above the chart, they list the references. So I went out and downloaded the very first paper. I think it was number 7. And on number 7, now remember this one number where they say 1.6 million years on the right. That's what the dating came out at, right? Okay. So then we're going to go look at the paper. And we'll try this again. Okay, so it's by Dalrymple. 1969 was the source, right? 1969. Red flags all over the place because of the age of the paper. But if you look at this paper, they didn't even get their information right. Okay, they show in the middle column, they show 1.6 plus or minus 0.16, which is the ratio of argon, right? of the argon isotopes. Over on the right is the apparent age, 1.19 million years, not 1.6 million years. So they went and copied a whole bunch. In fact, this whole paper is about why some samples fail to give you reliable information about their date. And they explain it in the entire paper, all the things that you have to be careful of when you're doing this argon dating, right? And they also talk about a whole bunch of other examples where they had a better than 95% confidence rate. So I mean, they didn't even get the copy the table down right in this damn book that he is putting up as slam dunk proof, that radiometric dating is wrong. And they used I think they used Mount Etna, they used Hulai, they use a couple other sunset crater. And they copy all the numbers down wrong. And it just amazes me how shoddy the work that these guys do is. And then SFT gets a hold of it. And if you listen to him on Maddox's stream, I wish I had the clip. He sounds so confident. I mean, it's just like, oh, yeah. And then he laughs and chuckles, like, haha, these scientists are so funny because they're so wrong. But you go look at this paper, and the paper goes through and has all kinds of information where they've dated a number of things, and they explain why these particular samples were problematic. It was either through contamination or there's a bunch of other processes that can change lava, the sample, to give you an invalid date. And so the whole paper is about how not to make a mistake and how to get accurate results for most of the rocks that they do date. So you see the trick here? I mean, these guys have got to know that they're lying to us, right?
Yeah, it's unethical quote mining.
So SFT be picking cherries?
Picking cherries, yep. And he does this over and over again. And then there was the Ashley phosphate beds, which I explained in too much detail backstage. I know we did a video on it. But the entire Ashley phosphate bed thing was entirely from one word that a guy chose to put in a book because he was probably thinking about this news article that came out 2 years before about a dinosaur that was discovered in Maine. And he put the name of that dinosaur after a list of things he was reeling off about I don't even think he was talking specifically about the Ashley phosphate beds. I think he was talking about the fossils that they find, right? And so he put that one word in that book, and the creationists have used this book from 1880 to be their slam dunk evidence that dinosaurs were found with man in the phosphate beds in North Carolina. And the dinosaur was found in Maine. And it's like a hadrosaur. It was a hadrosaur. And so the guy put a picture of the dinosaur on the cover of his book. And they also show you the cover of his book as evidence. And I've got the book back here in my library. And it was one of the earliest videos I did, right? Scott, do you know which one I'm even talking about? Maybe we could dig it up and put a link in the
Sounds familiar, but yeah, I'd have to search.
Yeah. But Colton or Mr. Wolford went out and he got a whole huge paper on the Ashley phosphate beds. And we went through it in some detail, and there was no evidence of any dinosaur bones being found in places where they shouldn't have been found. And that's why no geologist has heard about this. No paleontologist has heard about Ashley phosphate beds. Most of them you ask and they won't even know what you're talking about because it is not a viable fossil dig at all. It's something that has been so overmined and churned up and thrown in rivers, and I don't know. Anyway, it drives me crazy. What are we gonna do? Guzman asked SFT if he thought we came from apes, and SFT said yes. What?
What?
What? For a young Earth creationist? Yeah, when you talk to SFT sometimes offline, you wonder. Anyway.
Yeah, it's weird because, you tell a creationist, you think a zebra and a horse share a common ancestor, and they're like, probably. But when you talk about, humans and other primates, then are like, hold on, slow down there, man. That's kind of, demonic.
Yeah. Yeah, and the idea, and the thing is, humans did not come from chimps. Chimps and humans came from something else that we can only guess at or, try to dig up fossil evidence of. Somewhere between 10 and 30 million years ago, and they like to slide over that. And I mean, that isn't any more of a stretch than a tiger and a house cat being related. And yet they accept the latter, but they won't accept the former. Of course, they can't if they're sticking with, if the Bible is their first science book, My first science book was a Bible. I don't know.
Yeah. It taught me that Adam and Eve were the first human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. So shit. I just realized something. I won't talk about it. Anyway, I think I know how I got my emails confused. Yeah, anyway, so we're going to see if Andrew wants to come in, and we'll kick around some stuff. So there's that thing from SFT, and what else is there? There's the thing about morphology changing and believing in evolution, and the reason why everyone who knows anything about biology believes in evolution is because we know that genes mutate, and we know that these mutations can cause vast changes in morphology. Shorter ears, longer limbs, different, basically different bones developing, all of that. And it's mind-numbing to deny it, basically.
It's fascinating too, because like there's biologists out there, right, that who are like actually YECs, like Robert Carter, for example. You know him?
Yeah, I know.
Like he's a
They
marine
blew me
biologist.
away. They surprised me a lot.
Right.
And well, we're going to have one on in October. Fuzz Rana's going to come and have a talk with us, and he's a biochemist and really intelligent man. And he believes in intelligent design. He doesn't believe in young Earth creationism, but he believes in intelligent design. And so I think he buys most of evolution. But then who are there's a whole, Carter's a young Earth creationist, isn't he?
Yeah, but like I think I saw this video of him a while back where he talks about how Darwin is a racist, which right off the bat he's already getting so many things wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Darwin fought against slavery, didn't he? He was an activist at some point in his life.
Yeah, Aaron Ra, he talks a lot about this. Like he goes into like his book, like The Voyage on the Beagle, was it? Yeah, so like he talks about a lot how like, slavery is bad. Like I'm against it.
Yeah, I mean, like you could safely say Darwin had his biases, as did all Victorian men of his time. But like, if you really compare it, he was a lot less racist than most of the other people around at that time. So,
yeah, and it was the way they talked, and it was the relationship that the United Kingdom had with other countries that they were dominating, basically. So it was thick in their culture. So of course you're going to catch them sounding like jerks,
Yeah, or well, I mean, they also forget that at that time the word race was basically synonymous with species or a group of species, basically. So what they meant by that back then isn't being racist. So yeah, it's just wrong all over.
More cherry picking.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of when Standing for Truth does one of those little diatribes like he did with that radiometric dating chart, and he sounds so confident, like he's researched this, like he's a whiz on radiometric dating. I mean, he went to college for it. He knows all about it.
He's
And
a
he goes
ShareFile salesman. That's the deal. He's Vince, on the TV, on the cable, selling shit and projecting confidence, even though what he has is just a cheap product.
Yeah,
I think it's a combination of two primary factors. Well, for one, SFT isn't always as smart as he thinks he is, so it's kind of that Dunning-Kruger effect there. But it's also he's at a point in the history of his channel right now where if he doesn't maintain this illusion of expertise and of this kind of puffery attitude, then I suspect that his channel won't be as, or maybe he thinks it won't be as popular as.
Well, he's probably he's making a living on this channel right now.
Right, exactly.
And if he had let and that's why he quit going on other people's channels, because it threatens him. Right. Because he gets his ass kicked if he sits down on a one-on-one on anybody else's channel.
Right, so because he can't control the conversation.
Right, and can't control the chat and the people listening. So he's kind of created a monster for himself, but he's created a monster for us too, because he is starting a ministry that is going to gain in popularity and money.
Right.
I mean, he is going to be a wealthy man over this. He's young. He's got a good idea. He's got a really good idea. He's got a polished image. And it's just like, but why would there's so many people that go there and listen to him as if it's, the truth. And that just seems immoral to me, I don't know.
Right. Oh, goodness me. I didn't say hi to Scott. Hey, Scott. Hey, Lou. Is it Low or is it Lou? I'm sorry.
It's good to see you.
I mean, Speed, I'm pretty sure he knows like my actual real name.
Oh.
I do. I won't share that. So
yeah, you better not.
We'll just call you Lou. but your Lou's channel is in the description. There's some animation there. He's hoping to get better content, right? And has some content already worth looking at. So anyway,
I also put the link to that phosphate discussion with Colton in the chat and public.
Go to Lou's channel and subscribe. Won't cost you a damn thing.
Yeah. So, Speed, did you happen? Well, actually, last night, me and Emery from In His Image kind of nerded out about phylogenetics and common ancestry, and we did a
where?
What?
Where?
On his channel. We had a nice cordial discussion about what things we agree on and some of the many things we disagree on, but no, we didn't yell over each other. So it was one of those better conversations, So
you had a cordial discussion with Emery?
Yeah. Well, wow. Is that bad?
I didn't know you could. It was possible.
I'm skeptical you had one, because I think if you had one, you would have brought a link.
Oh, I got a link right here. I got it. I'm putting it in the description.
Oh, you found it already? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, I think he just posted it today. It was last night, but it only came up this morning, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of wanted to have a talk with him at some point, but he...
it was kind of impromptu.
Yeah, he's the one that went and told Cell, basically, I think, a lie about what we'd said about Cell. And Cell got mad, and that was kind of the falling out I had with Cell. So I don't have a very good relationship with Emery because of that. Because he made a big deal of a little comment that John Peterson said that nobody heard because his mic was down and somebody was talking over him. And Emery just blew it up and got Cell pissed off about it, and it was like one of those little offhanded jokes, we were talking about something entirely. We were talking about how we were opposed to teaching young Earth creationism to children. And of course, John Peterson comes in and does but it was it wasn't a tough comment. It was just a little bit veiled, and Emery blew it up and made a big deal of it on Cell's channel. Otherwise, it never would have seen the light of day. There's an excuse me. There's an example of how, when somebody says something to you, if you go out and complain about it in 50 different places, the people that you're complaining about it to now know about it, right? So now they've heard the insult. And a lot of times you're better off just keeping your mouth shut and just letting it go. It's like it was nothing. So anyway, but that's my.
I'll have to keep that in mind then.
It's my history with Emery. So
okay.
I don't care for some of the. Of course, he doesn't believe he's a racist, but when you go and listen to when you read in between the lines, I can't come to any other conclusion. He likes to talk about race. He likes to talk about woke people, and
I saw a lot of politics on there.
Oh my God! And it's really bad politics. It's really stinky politics. Pretty bad stuff. So.
Okay, should we move on to a different topic then?
Anything. Well, yeah. Well, the phylogenetics talk. What did you guys agree on, and what did you not agree on?
So yeah, we basically agreed that there exists an objective nested hierarchy. I guess we agreed on that, and some of the methods involved. What I think we disagreed on, and I think it's not in my opinion at least, I don't think it's a valid criticism, of course. But what he was basically saying was I told him we have these experiments where we've demonstrated how if you have a known phylogeny, say with viruses or bacteria or other small things you breed in the lab, and you track the mutations over a certain period of time, the methods we use nowadays are able to recover the known phylogeny most of the time. And so I was trying to say, okay, we have evidence, therefore, that this process of descent with modification naturally produces nested hierarchies where traits are correlated with one another. And he was saying that what we disagreed on was how far back that goes, of course, and the fact that there's no experiment in principle we can do to test if everything is related, basically, is what he said.
Okay.
So like he's saying we would have to, I guess, maybe I'm misrepresenting it, I hope not, but like from what I gathered, he was saying we'd have to basically start life over and see the tree that the whole thing was developed, I guess.
Right.
Which is kind of unrealistic.
Yeah, the only way to know for sure what happened is to start life over and watch it happen, right?
Or we can invent a time machine.
Yeah.
Right. Or that. The TARDIS.
Yeah, I just posted a link to Dessel Drace's channel. He's going to take the video down within days, but post-molecular systematics and the future of phylogenetics. I don't have a paper by Pyron 2015, and I don't know if you saw that or not, but anyway,
what was it talking about?
Basically, what the new algorithms and the new things that they're doing now that we have a lot of genomes, right? So it sort of changes in phylogenetics and what the future of phylogenetics is. And I'm sure you would love you would absolutely love the paper. So,
okay,
he reads me bedtime stories, so like he reads the whole paper. So I just, as I'm falling asleep, I let him read me to sleep. But then he always takes his stuff down. But
well, as long as it's not saying phylogenetics is all wrong all of a sudden.
Anyway, Lou, because this is supposed to be talking to you, because I screwed something. Yeah, do you know how I got screwed up? I requested 2 people contact me, and you did, and the other guy didn't, and so I thought you were the one. So, and I was wondering why you changed your name.
Change my name to the
To
other
Lou
guy
the
you were talking to.
Yeah, I thought it was the other guy, and I can't remember what his name was exactly, and I don't think he ever got back to me, so I don't know.
Who
So
is the
anyway,
other guy?
I don't know. He was definitely a creationist.
Oh, okay.
No, he never sent me an email, so I don't know what happened to him. But anyway,
Yeah,
so
I even asked him.
yeah. So
Oh yeah,
Lou,
but sorry.
so do you have any question for us people who are studying evolution?
Yeah.
Evolution.
Didn't John Malick say? I don't know. It's like I don't know. I think John Malick said something about like how scientists are now finding that the phylogenetics are like being inconsistent. I don't know his exact words, but like
Yep.
Oh, are you
Yeah.
talking about incongruencies?
yeah,
Micro DNA.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Micro DNA.
Can I take care of this one, Speed?
Oh, but I can tell my John Maddox story too.
Okay,
So,
Andrew's
you go first, and then I'll.
hold my beer.
okay. So,
Sorry, man. I thought that was funny.
oh, and I missed you. I didn't hear it.
What was that? Yeah,
Damn it.
sorry.
I said Andrew's saying, "Hold my beer, Speed."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
go ahead, Speed, and then I'll go.
So anyway, a long time ago in a debate with R.J. Downard, John Maddox brought up microRNA has turned the mammalian family tree on its ear and showed that, I don't know, something was closely related to elephants or something like that. And it was a paper from, I think, about 2012 or 2010 maybe. And so it was about microRNAs. So I went out, found the paper, because Maddox, of course, didn't link the paper. And in fact, that is how me and Maddox started fighting, because I kept bugging him for the link to the paper, and he would not give it to me. Well, so I went out and searched, and I found a newspaper article where they interviewed this molecular biologist who had studied microRNAs at a bar, and he showed how the family tree had been just turned inside out for mammals, right? And he sketched it on a paper on a napkin at a bar, and he talked to this pop sci editor named Ely Dolgen, I think. I think it's a her. She does all sorts of pop sci stuff, and they published that in some journal, or not a journal, like Science or something, as an article, right? So I went out and found the paper that they were referring to, and I contacted the scientist himself and said, did you know that Young Earth Creationism is using you as their poster boy, and they're talking about you? And he said, I almost got fired, or I almost lost my career over that damned article. And he said, the short answer is, I was wrong. And then he said, refer to these papers, and they show where they were using the wrong data set, and they got the mammalian tree turned inside out. And Maddox is still talking about this today, even though the scientists themselves said, nope, I was wrong. That didn't happen. Nobody turned the tree inside out. So I believe that is what you heard Maddox talk about.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as Stephen Jay Gould and transitional forms and the quote mining and all that.
Yeah, but I love when you go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting because like when you actually contact the actual scientist that wrote the paper,
right,
and like actually get to have like this conversation, hear what they're saying, you like learn that this younger creationist, for example, like they're not saying what this guy is saying, like they're totally misrepresenting just
right.
I mean, the stuff you read in the pop science particles and stuff. It's all surface level. It goes,
Yeah.
trust me, way deeper, much deeper.
Yeah, and now that they said it out loud, it that becomes the source that they refer to in the future,
That's
Right.
what
and no amount of correction seems to work on them. I mean, they still, like, you can get them one-on-one, and you can give them the evidence, and they'll be silent, and then 2 weeks later they're using it again, and it's like, what? And I heard Maddox use it on
actually
stream
happened with you?
a few weeks ago. What's that?
like you show them like this, like, okay, so what you said is not the case when I actually read the paper, and so why are you still using it? Is
Yeah.
that what happened to you?
Yeah, and we've done that with Otangelo. Otangelo has brought us a paper and showed us a cherry pick quote, and then we read the paper to Otangelo, and at the end of the paper, it actually said that creationists and ideas, people that believe in intelligent design, use this information wrong, and we showed that to Otangelo, and he still insisted on coming back on my channel once again, looking at the same paper, insisting that the part that he picked, which was a half of a sentence, was right, and the rest of the paper, the guy got it wrong.
Right.
It's like, what in the hell is wrong? I mean, this is the kind of thinking that goes into anti-vaxxers and people like Gargle Betadine. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
come on, we gotta work a little bit harder at being rational human beings.
That was just cherry picking to the next level.
Yeah, it is, and I gotta clip that little part out for and put it up and I'll do it as a premiere. I'll write myself.
Well, I was just about to say, like, you know how they hold the Bible as inerrant. Well, it's almost. I was gonna say that it's almost as if certain papers, at least, are held to be sacred, even after they've shown to be wrong.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you mentioned that, and that kind of tells me that they only really use papers when it suits them. So it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. If it says X, it's right in their view. It doesn't matter what the paper actually says.
And here's another thing that drives me crazy is when they show it on the screen in their PowerPoint presentation, right? You go look at it, and then you go out and you do a Google search, and the first thing that comes up with is AIG or Creation Ministries,
Right.
and it turns out that they actually got a screenshot of the cherry pick quote from there. They didn't even look at the paper themselves.
Right.
Ever. They didn't bother going out and looking at the actual paper and reading it. It just,
Yeah.
I found that over and over again. Now, Otangelo on his blog, if you go and look at the way he sources things, right? He puts a whole paragraph of quotes together, and then down below he puts the links, and then you go and you search for that exact text, and you can't find it. But then if you search for just a fragment, you'll find out which paper said what, and sometimes he puts them together so that they paint a picture that is not accurate at all. And they do this, and they think they're actually doing research. I mean, they believe what's going on inside their mind. They don't believe that they're lying, I don't think. I think they actually convince themselves.
I think so.
How in the fuck do you do that?
What? Oh my God, they're talking about Jerry Fodor again over on Guru's channel.
Oh my God! Oh, I should go over there and talk to Dan. No, I'm going to talk to Danny one-on-one about that. That's the only way I'm going to talk to him.
Yeah. Don't fall into the temptation speed.
No, because it's impossible to talk to Danny when he has a room that he can play off. He won't have a rational conversation, but you can have a really good conversation with him one-on-one. You cannot have a conversation with him if there's 3 people in the room, because he'll make you the dunce and he'll play off the other person. He does it all the time. But he's a little weenie and he's a coward. He won't come on and do a one-on-one with me about natural selection or dualism.
So, Lo, I didn't know if you. Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something else, Speed?
No, it was your turn to do the Maddox thing.
I didn't know if Speed's answer helped answer your question already, but did you still want my take on it?
Yeah, I'll answer for him.
Andrew, we always want your take on things.
Right.
Okay, I just want you to know that.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, the slow didn't answer. Did he go somewhere?
I don't know. Lou, you with us?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it turns out that phylogenetics at its root is there's a lot of statistics involved in it, of course. And it turns out it's actually kind of counterintuitive. But the fact is, because you have so many species, you can have trillions of different tree topologies, that is, branching orders of this branching off into this, then branching off into this, etc. You can have many different topologies from even just a handful of species. Like, for sake of comparison here, I mean, like, even if you have like a dozen to like 20 taxa, you can have more possible tree topologies than there are atoms in the visible universe, just from that handful of taxa. And of course, there's not just 20 or 30 or 50 taxa out there. There are millions, probably maybe even a billion species out there, at least tens of millions of species. So what you find is that there are many, many, many different trees that you end up with. And it turns out that even if a few of them, maybe in a few dozen individual trees, disagree with one another based on likely genes that aren't evolving at the same rate, for example, you can still have those incongruencies, but the tree will be highly statistically significant, just because even at that point there are so many potential trees that you can create that you could have gotten, but the fact that you're getting a similar subset, even if that subset has some discrepancies in it, it still means that the incongruencies are pretty minor. Like, if you were to look at the tree of life as a whole, you find there's massive amounts of agreement. Like, there's more agreement than disagreement, that's to be sure. I don't know if that helps. I'm not trying to get too much into the jargon here.
Yeah, no, it was fascinating.
Yeah. When you start doing it at the molecular level, and you start looking at proteins, then that article that Dessel did demonstrates how better and better algorithms and better data is allowing us to be more and more confident of some of these trees.
Right.
But you're still going to run into things where you've got a protein that ends up you think it was assembled basically from another matched protein in another species, but it turns out it had a slightly different derivation, because they're trying to piece together a really complicated history, right?
Right. Yeah.
And there are certain sequences in proteins that are conserved, and they're shared by a whole bunch of protein families.
Right.
And sometimes it's really hard to, you get false hits. And when you get false hits, you're going to put it in your paper and you're going to mention it. Oh, this is incongruent.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
It definitely helps to sequence multiple independent regions of the genome, not just one.
Yeah. Yep.
Which isn't always possible, but it does help a lot of the time.
And that's why you and I, Andrew, need to start this project where we actually go out and do some of these, run some of these programs.
Yeah.
Because I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I want to get into in cell biology,
Okay.
like sources. Like there's a protein called actin, which is something that has a lot to do with why you aren't a blob of goo,
Right.
why you can stand up.
I thought it has to do with muscles.
That too. It has to do with muscles, but it does something else. Like if you look at a picture of bacteria inside of a cell, right? Bacteria that have invaded one of our cells, you'll see them shooting around like they're on speedboats, and they have a tail behind them. So like there's a swishy tail behind them, and they're speeding around inside your cell. And when you look into what they're doing, it has nothing to do with muscles, myosin and actin. It has to do with actin alone. And what's happening is it's very rapidly building a scaffold on one side of the cell and pushing it forward and disassembling it on the other side. And it shoots across the cell. It looks like it's flying around. And it's absolutely amazing. But anyway, actin is highly conserved way back into prokaryotes. And so it's like one of the most highly conserved mechanisms. But actin is also responsible for giving your cell a skeleton, a structure. It basically what holds your cell into the shapes that it holds, and we don't become goo. And there are some diseases where you do kind of become goo, and they're very debilitating that they're studying. But anyway, I wanted to look into some of those. What's that?
Some philosophers ask the question, why is there something rather than nothing? I ask the question every day, why am I not a blob of goo?
Right.
To me, that's more important.
Yeah. Well, I've been looking into that.
So I heard that, philosophical statement, like, why is there something better than nothing? Like, it usually gets people like to believe in God, right?
Yeah.
That was a big deal to 1950s theologian.
Sorry about the background.
He would start out his presentations of his particular kind of theology with why is there something rather than nothing, and he came up with God as the as ultimate being or being in itself, and a whole lot of strange words ensued after that.
Yeah, the thing is, if there was nothing, how would you ask that question?
Exactly.
Yeah, the whole term nothing is kind of problematic.
Yeah, we don't know what nothing is because how can we have ever experienced nothing?
I mean, I think the closest thing to nothing you'll ever get is like before you go to sleep and before you dream.
Right.
And I never remember those phases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Peter's asking why I'm not on Gerstream.
Huh? Who?
Ooh,
Where's Peter? Are you on Gerstring right now?
I'm texting. I'm doing a hashtag Danny insults. Like I just did a hashtag
That dog
Danny.
is vicious.
Danny sucks photo. That dog does sound vicious.
At least Decibel's holding up the banner for you. He's just told Danny that either way, that argument you just gave was terrible, and he's still going on about the personality thing.
Well, the thing I need on Fodor, I need Danny to state very clearly what he thinks natural selection is supposed to be predicting.
And just to be upfront, I don't know what to think about Danny's argument. So when I'm saying that intentionality thing, I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying I don't understand it. I haven't internalized the concepts to understand what possible objections to raise to it.
What I don't understand about it is I always thought fitness was based on the entirety of an organism's phenotype, not just one individual trait.
Yeah, not the heart thumping or the thump noise. Or
Well,
the
it kind of depends because if you're born, if you're born with legs that are too short or something like that, you're going to get eaten. If you can't figure out how to run fast. So that's one trait. But yeah, there's combinations of traits too that make you.
And you also have combinations of genes that lead to the same trait. So
yeah, and you can have short legs just like your sibling or your litter mate, but you also have whatever creaturely version of asthma. Well, that's going to make you more likely to die and not pass on your genes than the short-legged guy.
Right.
You say what's better than having short legs?
What's that?
Having a short body.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have. That's where I was going.
That's what I have. I'm not tall. I'm like, I don't know, 5'7", 5'8", and that has served me well because I can fit in small places that big people can't. I don't know. I like that.
That's so weird.
Well, it's cool to be able to fit in small places and run away. You know, I can run away very effectively.
Why does that remind me of the old myth about Napoleon Bonaparte?
Which one's that?
Well, for that, he was shorter than
Oh, yeah, he was tiny, wasn't he? Okay.
Well, no, that was like a propaganda spread by the English. Normal. He was normal for males in France during that day.
Well, you can also say certain Asian people are short, but they're normal sized for people living in that region.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's an advantage to being small, so I enjoy it.
So Danny's small?
Danny?
Yeah.
Oh, he's tiny. I mean, he must be like 103 pounds after he gets out of the shower, you know?
Say, how old is Danny anyway?
Yeah, I think he's about 28, 29, something like that.
He looks way younger.
He's working on his master's.
He does. Yeah, and he teaches high school, he teaches biology to students, and he doesn't even seem to get causality. He doesn't even understand. He doesn't understand physical. Yeah. He teaches.
Wouldn't want to be in his school.
It would be pretty
AJ is saying that's racist. Did I say something racist? I hope I didn't. Did I mess up?
Yeah, you were talking about, how P. Mars saying the N-word is the greatest thing you heard.
P. Mars.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Atheist Junior come in and defend that accusation.
Oh, yep. He said he was joking.
Oh, well, come on in anyway.
AJ is always wrong.
I don't want to be a racist person, so I got really panicky there.
Yeah, you don't want to be a P. Mars.
You're going to accidentally say something that's interpreted as racist by somebody.
Right.
That's pretty inevitable. Hey, Dessel.
Hey, Dessel. So are you going to leave that current thing up long enough for somebody to read it? The one I linked in my description.
No.
So what's this? You said you're moving out west. Where is west?
Probably doing Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
West is west.
Just don't make a wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, I've only passed through there before, but I'm going to chill out there for a little while just to see what it's like. I hear good things.
Oh, okay.
I heard it's like a desert with snakes.
Yep. Yeah, I checked out desert areas before. I spent some time in Phoenix, Arizona. Can get pretty deserty looking, and I like that kind of terrain. I also like the black scorpions they have out there.
I also heard that they had mutant. I also heard they had mutant king cobras there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that one, but maybe I'll get lucky enough and see one. When I was in Phoenix, I went on this hike up a mountain, and as I was coming down toward dusk, I heard a rattle from some kind of rattlesnake, but I didn't get to see it wherever it was. But besides that, you see like all these black scorpions crawling around, and I think they're way better, quote unquote pests than the pests that you have down south or up north. In the Northeast, it's like these small little cockroaches that invade people's apartments and shit. And down south, there are these huge fucking like water roaches and shit. They're just not nearly as like cool as seeing a fucking scorpion scuttling around. So,
speaking of rattlesnakes, I recently read an article, and I don't know how accepted it is currently, but like something about how a rattlesnake's rattle is not just used to warn away predators, but might be used to give an illusion of how close the snake actually is to you.
That's interesting.
So is that what you call an evolutionary advantage?
I would guess so.
Way to bring it back on topic, Lou.
I heard that they think that rattlesnakes are rattling less because it's getting them killed.
Oh.
And basically, so so we're putting up a selection pressure against rattlesnakes that rattle.
Oh, so kind of like ivory with elephants.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yep. Same thing. We're hunting it out of existence. So, in Minnesota, the only thing poisonous we have is ivy.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
it.
know that, AJ.
Did you know that the rattle is made out of the same material?
Well, that would make sense because aren't
Yeah.
scales made of certain kind of keratin?
Yeah. So in Minnesota, we have gopher snakes, and they coil just like rattlesnakes, and they strike at you, and they stick their tail in a pile of leaves, and they move it around real fast, so they sound like a rattlesnake.
Right.
And they're,
Like
but they don't even have, they have no teeth. What's that?
So
Yeah,
does,
they're
that mean,
imitating.
does that mean there were rattlesnakes in the area at one time, and those gopher snakes mimicked them, or
They overlap, I think, with rattlesnakes, because there are rattlesnakes in the extreme southwestern Minnesota. There are rattlesnakes there. So
there's a great video. I forget the name of the channel. I can dig it out, but that person did a great long video on mimicry in nature. It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
I'll go look at
it's close to Christmas because Die Hard's on TV. Sorry. I wanted to ask really quick. Sorry for just like jumping in there for really rudely, but I asked earlier for you guys to send me a link to the SFT chat that you were talking about, but you guys missed it, so I just kind of came in here to bully my way in for a link.
Oh, you mean the one I was referring to with the radiocarbon dating?
Yep.
I believe that was last night on LPP's channel.
Yeah.
There it is on LPP, and here you go. Since you're giving me a link, here's some links for you. This.
Links for me?
Yep, on the private chat. That one. Oh, never mind. I can't give you that one. That one's downloaded.
Paper links? Or
Yeah.
links to your videos? So did you hear that I allow you to basically talk me to sleep? I use you as bedtime stories, your paper readings.
Heard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that would help.
Yeah, it puts me right to sleep.
But it does.
I love
That's a
Lucky's
compliment.
comment just now. Sorry.
Vicious dog.
All right, so I can't share this one with you. You're going to have to go hunt it down, but it's brand spanking new. It's called Experimental Approaches for Testing the Hypothesis of the Emergence of Life at Submarine Alkaline Vents by Altair. That's ALTAIR 2021.
Okay.
Anyway, I meant to read a bunch of these today, but my mic was all screwed up, so I wasn't really able to record anything.
Do you happen to have a link to that phylogenetics paper that you put out? Andrew wants to look at it, and I do too.
Heard. I can try to hunt it down. 1 sec.
And here's your link to the SFT talk. And let me go ahead and put that in the description. So
Hunt it, kill it, brutalize it.
Okay, I put a link to that video on mimicry. The name of the channel is Deep Dive, and anything that guy posts seems to be excellent in terms of the science and graphics and stuff.
All right, I just posted Pyron 2015 Post-Molecular Systematics and the Future of Phylogenetics in the private chat. And also, I think you guys would like, I did post it in the private chat, but it is called A Biologist's Guide to Bayesian Phylogenetic Analysis by Nascimento. And that was published in 2017, and the link's already in the private chat.
okay, cool. I'm going to put that. That's a PDF, that Pyron paper. So what just happened? Wow.
I think we lost Vessel.
Oh, you muted. So yeah. So everything got really quiet and weird.
It did. No
It was
background
just
noise. Probably a fan or an AC in the background.
Yep. Mimicry, when animals copy other animals. I'll go ahead and put that in the description just for the hell of it. So
Yeah, it's a great video. Anything from Deep Dive,
yeah.
good video.
So Lou, you got any other questions about creationism?
Hey, Randolph.
Hello.
No.
How's everybody?
Randolph. Hi.
Doing
We
fine,
are
sir. How about
slowly
you?
losing sanity.
Yeah.
How's
funny.
that studio coming?
I just picked up another 8 pieces of plywood today because the price of wood has dropped.
Good.
About 2 months ago or so, there was maybe even a month and a half. It was about $80 for a sheet of plywood. Now it's down to $57, which is pretty close to what it was before.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was looking at ribeye steaks today, and
Yeah.
they wanted $20 a pound for them for beef.
What were they 5 years ago?
About 5,
Holy
something
cow.
like that. Yeah.
Wow.
And basically,
But price.
Alaskan king crab was $20 a pound a year ago. So beef is as much as crab right now. So I don't know what we're going to do because we live on beef. I mean, if I quit eating beef, I probably will actually die.
Beef and pork.
Yeah, I got some pork up in the crock pot right now. It's the only I mean, you know, we make pretty decent money and we can't afford beef, you know? It's like, what the hell is going on? It's like it's going to become a luxury, you know? I don't know. Pretty crazy. Why do atheists hate the baby Jesus? Okay, why do we hate the baby Jesus? Do we hate the baby?
Hate?
I don't hate babies.
No, neither do I.
I love babies.
No, baby Jesus before he started shooting his mouth off was pretty
Can I
cool.
say something?
Yeah.
So I have
Maybe.
to go somewhere. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
see you guys later. It's been
Hey,
fun
good chatting
talking
with you.
with all you guys.
Well,
Have a good
yeah,
day.
the show is
Fortunately, I don't even know if I might even join back. I mean,
Okay,
I get
the
that the
show is-
stream is called that you're supposed to talk to me, but
Yeah, the show is named after you, so I mean, hell, you have an honored place here. But anytime you want to come on and bring questions about shit you've seen these
we love
crazy creationists do, we'll handle them for you.
anyway, sorry, for wasting everyone's time.
Oh,
No,
no,
it wasn't a waste of
no,
time.
no.
We enjoyed talking with you.
No,
We
come
need
back
to-
anytime.
it was a
Come
good
back
question.
anytime. We'd love to have you back.
All right,
Yeah,
bye.
you had good questions. Thanks. Okay.
Maybe
no,
maybe baby Jesus had a thunderous cry.
I don't know.
I especially like that question you asked about Maddox.
Yeah, he's got some good ones that he spotted. So anyway,
Hey, AJ, what'd you do today?
Oh,
AJ did an interview today.
He
Yes,
did.
I did an interview with the esteemed Dr. Joshua Bowen, PhD.
Excellent. I like Josh. He's a good guy.
It was a
Oh,
good.
did
It
you-
was a good interview.
Shit, guys, I just saw something horrifying.
what?
John Maddox.
I'll show you. It's
The,
horrifying.
the specter of Danny's ghost.
It's worse than that. It's like fucking double rainbow. It's
Living
where is
peanut
it?
butter?
Oh no. Okay, no, I was looking at the wrong. I thought Otangelo was on Gur's stream, but no, it
He
isn't.
is.
Ah.
I mean, he's in the side chat.
Yeah, he's inside.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong stream, so I'm sorry.
Speaking of Otangelo, I'm going to be getting on Godless Granny's stream in the near future to just be kind of the host between the two of them so that they can have a chat.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like a moderator. They're not debating, but she just wants me
An
to come in
arbitrator.
to keep things calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Otangelo's been getting a little testy lately.
Yeah, he was in my side chat. I think he wanted me to ask Dr. Josh questions.
But
Yeah.
all he did was paste scripture quotes.
Scripture, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Josh is probably pretty used to that happening.
Yeah, he gets kind of chased around by a lot of Christians. I'm sure, a lot of fundamentalists.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought he gave some really great answers, which isn't surprising.
Did anybody make any pants jokes in the chat?
I don't think so. I wasn't really paying attention to the chat because it was actually going kind of fast. There was a lot of people in the side chat, but I didn't see anything like that.
Oh, okay. If they do, it's a reference to the Tang debate he hosted between me and Gavin Herleman, and
Yeah,
when he took his pants off. Yeah.
I've seen the clip of the bird coming in the room.
And he reaches up for it. Yeah.
But-
that's so funny.
Yeah, but I think
whole
Jim
audience-
Majors would be the next person.
The whole audience is so lucky that apparently what happened was the automatic lighting adjustment darkened everything that would be terrible for people to see. So
Yeah.
I tell you what you could do, Atheist Junior, is you could host a Book of Daniel super seminar with Jim Majors, Joshua Bowen, and Kip Davis. That would be a powerhouse. You could have like do little presentations and then a time for questions from the audience, and then go into the next guy, and then go into the next guy about some topic out of the Book of Daniel.
no, I'm glad Jim Majors got his PhD. He's already very smart before he got that, so it's he deserves it.
So what did
Yeah.
Dr. Josh say about, he made some comment about Jim Majors that was it a joke or something? Was he just poking at him?
Yeah, they were poking around. They were joking around.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a big list of questions, but I had to skip a lot of my questions because there was a lot more questions from the chat than I thought there would be.
Yeah.
That's good of you.
Yeah.
It's good to come prepared with questions
Yeah.
and then to not have to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your audience is asking better questions, it's definitely good to use those. The audience always likes that anyway.
Yeah, and I always try to make those interviews like 1 hour, and I didn't want to go over because I think Dr. Josh he was eating dinner after we finished, so the timing was pretty good. But yeah, and then
Well, man.
Peter said that Josh really liked the graphics on the video, and so Peter said he might help him out with that in a future video. So
Oh, that's good. Peter's very, very generous.
yeah.
He is.
Yeah, he helps out a lot of he always offers to help out people when they come on my channel because people like the way that he makes the streams look.
Yeah, he's helped me out a bit, so it's with this graphic stuff. So I'll be using some of that in the near future.
Now, Randolph, are you on a regular YouTube channel stream or whatever with any frequency?
No, not yet. I have. I've done one live stream for Canada Day on July 1st, which is on my channel, and I have a playlist called live streams. I think that's the only one in there right now. But the response was really good because at that time I had about 250 subscribers, roughly, maybe a few more than that, and then about 88 people joined live to watch the live stream. Which was quite good. 20% were not subscribers. So this tells me I need to do more live streams.
Yeah.
I think that's
What are you
pretty
doing?
good for a first live stream.
Are we going to critique the Gruder's live stream?
Yeah. I had to show Otangelo had a comment up there or something. He said, if quarks didn't do what they did, then there would be no life.
Yeah, he keeps throwing all that shit around. All these little, if this didn't happen, then we.
Oh,
Yeah,
There would also be no planets, no atoms.
If there were no atoms, there would be no life. You know, it's like, oh, okay, Otangelo, that's pretty insightful.
Captain Obvious.
Hey, Scott, I'm curious. You're asking me if I do regular live stream. What would you expect my live streams to cover if I did?
Atheism.
Yeah, atheism.
Agnosticism.
Maple
Stephen
syrup.
Gray.
No, I'm not going to cover him.
Okay. I mean, the whole thing about all the different kinds of atheists there are, and there's this whole class of atheists that certain people whose name I won't mention twice because he might appear.
Point of order. Point of order.
What?
That question was directed at me, sir.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was.
After
Story
Scott, I'd love to hear what Speed has.
Yeah. No, I was thinking. I don't know, but because I thought you were like, are you like part of some group? Like are you like an officer in some atheist organization?
I started an organization called the Canadian Atheists, and I still run it. And Darth Dawkins got really upset about this. Steve got upset about this. Some other people got really upset. It's like we're just an organization advocating for atheism and for human rights here in
Why would
Canada.
they get upset about that if you organized?
Yeah, I think they see us as a threat is probably why.
Yes, that's good. That means you need to organize.
Yep.
But anyway, because I was thinking of you as that, I was just thinking it would be kind of a general atheism in the news thing, philosophical discussions, and the occasional author or scientist or something.
Yeah, this is a great idea. It makes sense. I'd like to do stuff like that. I do need to get my studio set up first, though, because the way I have it now wouldn't really be well suited for it. And the other thing that's kind of a higher priority for me is the organization itself. We've got plans for a number of different events that we want to run. There's monthly activities for local community stuff here, and I'm talking with people in other provinces and territories who would like to represent part of Canadian atheists throughout Canada. So we'd like to proceed with those things. But the COVID-19 pandemic has really put the kibosh on all this stuff temporarily. And we comply with the health recommendations of our government. So we're not going to go and meet when they say it's not safe to meet, because we don't want to contribute to making the pandemic worse in any way. We also canceled an event called the Atheist Interchange, which is kind of like these kind of forums that people hosted. There's the Faithless Forum. There's the American Atheist did stuff for a while. So we want to run these sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And we had venues narrowed down to, I think, 2 last time a few years ago, just before the pandemic started. And one had 300 chairs, seats. Another one had 500. So we were kind of looking at that. We had insurance all figured out, the costs and the budgets for that and the marketing. So we were serious about doing that. People would buy tickets to go to this thing. And we'd have speakers lined up and there to present. So that's the idea with that. So we wanted to make sure that we had everything in order, like to do it properly and professionally. And then the pandemic hit, so we had to put all of that on hold. So we're looking forward to getting that back in gear, and we're starting to look into that because things are gradually looking better. I think once this Delta variant has slowed things down a bit, but I think it's going to, once the booster shot is out for that, that's going to help a lot. And once international travel's open, then we'll be able to bring people in from all over the place for the Atheist Interchange. Unless we come up with a better name, that's the name we're going to go with it.
Cool. Well, hold on tight to that dream, because sometimes you can kind of forget your focus if you've been delayed for so long. But anyway, that was my point of order. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you.
So anyway,
Sweet,
everybody else can give your suggestions too.
What's that?
Are you gonna take the thing down yet?
I'm watching the weenie mouth move.
Are you reading his lips?
No, I'm imagining his whiny voice. I'm torturing myself. I'm torturing myself.
Well, that's not fun.
I know. So Randolph, do you have electricity in Canada? No, I
missed that. Sorry, say it again.
That was a Canadian jab.
Yeah, I like the jokes. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Is addiction? How much of a problem is addiction and alcoholism in Canada? Is it as significant as it is here?
I don't know how significant it is there. It is a serious problem. We have safe injection sites, which are very effective. They work very well, and quite a lot of people are going to the injection sites and finding that they're talking with people there who run them, and then ask for help to get unaddicted. And it's actually working.
It's counterintuitive, but it works.
Safe injection sites are a great thing. The approach they use is they don't pressure people to get off of it. They just provide clean needles and clean drugs.
Right.
So they're not buying it from the streets. It's part of the plan is to put the dealers out of business as well. But the problem with the stuff in the black market is it's not clean. So people get other things mixed in, and it causes all kinds, makes the problem even worse.
Right.
And then there's a lot of violence and stuff associated with black market activities, drug dealing.
Exactly.
Whereas safe injection sites address a number of those problems. So even if somebody doesn't want to quit, at least they get stuff that's clean and they get clean needles. And so that helps. Alcoholism is also not an uncommon problem. So those are the kind of addictions that I know of.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here who smoke pot, and a lot of people smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes is a huge problem, huge addiction problem. And it's very often not described as an addiction problem. I think of it as a serious addiction problem. Just regular cigarettes, tobacco, right?
It killed you.
Yeah. And it's destructive because it's been proven to cause lung cancer and other health problems.
Yeah. So I'm interested in the intersection of alcoholism and drug addiction treatment and religion, and something, the agnostic approach to basically 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. And there's a growing movement here in, across the world, basically. I think it's called AA Agnostica or something like that.
There are some groups here that are doing it without religion, but as far as I know, the majority of the alcoholism help groups and anti-addiction, counter-addiction groups are all, a lot of them have religious people involved, and there's religion involved. And the churches, I think, see it as low-hanging fruit for getting people out of it. And the reason why it's effective with religion is because religion provides a replacement for other addictions.
Well, it provides I have an interesting take on the psychology behind all that.
Well, the reason I say this, just real quick, is that when somebody gets off of an addiction, an easy route to go is to replace it with some other habit. So it could be a healthy one, or it could be another unhealthy one.
Yeah, what I've found is that people that become addicted to religion inside of 12-step recovery are people who often do not recover for very long. It's not effective if you if you basically replace the addiction with religion, you will end up drunk again because it doesn't work that way.
Because it lacks, and sorry for this is not an intentional pun, but it lacks substance.
Yeah, it lacks substance. Yeah, yeah, and it's it sort of misses the mark. And the thing is that people have been missing the mark on how this recovery program works, and how the religion part of it actually is an effective part of the recovery. Yeah, and we need to understand what it is about the religion to distill the essence of the religious experience and look at it from a secular point of view. And until we do that, a lot of atheists are going to not sober up because of the religious barrier, right?
Aren't there like dopamine hit issues with the religion?
Yeah, well,
play into it.
They've done brain scans that show that it stimulates the same reward center of the brain as doing drugs or gambling when people are praying or having a religious experience.
Yeah, but you can have that same experience without the religious belief at all, and that's the trick that it's called spirituality basically, and it's a human condition, and it is confused with religion. You know, it's considered, it's a psychological brain phenomena that we go through, and until we understand it from a secular point of view, we aren't going to be able to use it properly and more effectively. So I think from a secular view of this will allow us to really get much better at treating addiction. And
I agree. I think when it comes to spirituality stuff, that's a big distraction. And people very often are quick to look to religious institutions as being authoritative on spiritual matters.
Right.
Because of the marketing.
Yeah.
So the marketing needs to change. That's a big
I noticed this today, Speed, on Gnostic Informant. He had an author on there named Derek Bennett, and they did a program on the theological problem with 12-step programs. So I don't know if it's a critique of 12-step programs, like they need to be more secular, or if I don't know, but it might be something good to review, critique, or have the author on.
I do want to point out that in Minnesota, at least in the Minneapolis area, and in my experience in northern Minnesota too, is that AA was sort of a faux pas to mention religion or Jesus, to mention a particular religion. Like if somebody started talking about if they talked about God too much, or not God but religion, it was considered bad etiquette in AA meetings in Minnesota. But in other parts of the country, it's just thick. I mean, it's just horrible. You go down south and you go to some of these meetings, and it's just they beat you over the head with it, But so there are some groups or some states or some mini cultures in AA that don't push the religious aspect of it. They're a lot more inviting to the atheist. But still, atheists will run screaming from the room sometimes when they tell them that they have to do this third step thing. And it's all a misunderstanding of how the damn thing works. And we need to fix that, I believe, or we're never going to get really good at it, So
yeah, we need a program it probably would work with less than 12 steps, and some of the steps are believe in Jesus. So
I would disagree,
because I know people who run a local group here in BC. Well, I knew them many years ago. I should probably maybe get in touch with them and ask them how things are going.
Yeah, I think all 12 steps are salvageable. They just have to be reinterpreted and reunderstood for what they are, and that's where I differ from a lot of my agnostic friends. That are trying to. But the thing is that Alcoholics Anonymous itself in New York will put its stamp of approval on any AA agnostic meeting as long as they keep the 12 steps pretty much intact. And you can interpret them any way you want, and you can make small changes to them. But but they'll list you as a viable meeting, so they have no problem with it.
You see, I think that if you're reducing the number of steps as a consequence of removing the religious elements, it may still be able to work, right? And
a
9-step program or a 10-step program would sound easier than a 12-step program, and could be actually more attractive if it's marketed right.
Yeah, but I think there's a few points that may be missed, and it's really important to understand the entire.
Yeah,
I mean, they came up with a formula basically that worked on a whole bunch of drunks.
That's why I started out with if. Yeah,
and and it's. I mean, there's no reason not to basically figure it out and leave it pretty much intact. I don't know. I ran a secular group right before the pandemic hit, and I was just starting to get people stopping in. And our whole mission was to take all 12 steps and show you how they were not religious at all, that there were other ways to approach them. Mm-hmm. And and it's I think it's an amazing. It was an amazing solution to the problem that Bill Wilson came up with, and this other religious nut, Dr. Bob, in where the hell was it, Ohio, back in 1938 or something like that. And they hit upon something. And Bill Wilson was an interesting person because he was looking for the science behind it his whole life. And he tried every which way he could. Talking to Carl Jung and Huxley and looking at the wider, basically the wider culture of spirituality across the world, and he even it is rumored, and I think highly substantiated, that he even tried LSD in order to figure out whether or not that would be a viable method, and he believed that we would by today, he believed that we would have a pill where we could basically solve the alcoholism problem with a pill. So I mean, he was a different dude. He gets a lot of bad press for having started this God-oriented program, but I don't think he was a God-oriented guy. I don't know.
It could be the people who were involved with it made it more deity-centric, you know? Made it more...
When they wrote the 12 steps, there was a big fight between a group in Minneapolis, Minnesota, that was basically, I think it was Native Americans who wanted to take the religion out of the steps, and a group in Michigan who were fundamentalist Christians who wanted to put the God in the steps. And they came up with a compromise where they tried everywhere they said God to say, as you understand him. So they came up with that compromise. And that was a result of a big fight that happened, I think, in the 40s over how the program was written. But
I thought, didn't they replace that with higher power at some point, or did they?
They call it higher power in a lot of things. And higher power, I mean, obviously the cosmos is a higher power than any of us. So,
I just wrote on Twitter last week that the cosmos is omnipresent.
Yep. Yes, we are humbled.
It's a slight against the Christian argument that God is omnipresent and only God can be.
Speed, is it okay if I bring up my own sort of topic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the other day how, I watch a lot of videos about PC parts and gaming, and those YouTubers, they get sent computer parts by the companies, but they have these sets with these incredibly expensive components, and I imagine they do spend money on parts. They have these incredible computers, obviously, and so I was thinking the barrier to entry to make videos like that must be kind of high because of the cost. But the thing that I like about atheism is that there's really no cost. There's no barrier to entry. It's something that anybody can talk about, and it's something that everybody in a way has an opinion about, because even if you're indifferent, you either are religious or you're not, or you're agnostic, so I like that about the subject of atheism, that really it's something that's universal in a way.
Yeah, it's a nice thing about atheism. Just one little quibble there is that people can be both atheist and agnostic, or theist and agnostic. Those are two possibilities.
Right.
Yeah. It's just the way it gets thrown around. It's a bit misleading. That's what Eves is people conflate the categories a lot, and it's really not necessary. I have a friend who's Catholic, and he's last time we went for lunch a couple of years ago was he talked to me about this stuff because he was curious my thoughts on religion, because we usually don't talk about this. We're friends. We have lots of things to talk about. So, and then we were talking, and then I'm asking him about his religion, and he ended up, because he was understanding my perspective on things. He was saying he believes in the God of Catholic God, Christianity, all that, but he's agnostic about it because he doesn't know for sure. So it's a purely faith-based form. So he's an agnostic theist.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair assessment. That's a valid position. There are some people out there who criticize and say that's not valid, but I don't see any problem with it. I don't see any conflict here.
Well, you have to really apply faith if you're agnostic about your faith, So that really actually is a positive thing in some Christian theologies.
And I like Lucky Seven Wolfin's comment here that atheism is boring. He put an extra word in there, but that's okay. I can't disagree with that, because there really is no doctrine with it. It's just a classification. Like the classification of color is boring. It's just it's colors, and just like atheism, it's a classification of those who don't believe in any goddesses or gods. Yeah.
Wait till you get into a discussion about what the definition of atheism is.
I've been in those. Yeah,
that's exciting.
See, I go with the fundamental baseline that all the variants agree on. and there's other people who want to narrow that scope, and that's fine. So it's just, yeah, there you go. Lucky for Wolfen is right. Like talking about not playing football. Another common example comes up is not collecting stamps being a hobby. So yeah, it is basically specifying one characteristic of an individual, and that's about it. So I don't play football, and I hardly ever talk about it. So that would apply to me, this example.
Well, when it comes to the discussions about defining atheism, I'm somebody who tries to avoid the more rigid academic definitions, and I like to think like, what is the colloquial way that people actually use the definitions in day-to-day life? Because I think, to me, that's more useful. Because
and you know what? I agree with you. But what I've noticed in speaking with academics over the years, over the decades, is that many academics are actually using colloquial terms for a lot of stuff. And so and when you take a look at Oxford versus Stanford, the way they define a lot of things are quite different. They're not all the same. They're not all in line. There isn't this conformity. And when it comes to philosophy in particular, where a lot of this stuff is referred to, one of the points about philosophy I find is that when you have dissenting views, then philosophy can really be useful and a lot more interesting than if everybody is taking the same philosophical stance. There's really not much of a conversation to be had because there's not much disagreement. This is what makes philosophy work, is when you have different perspectives and people are trying to argue their point of view and are hopefully doxastically open to accepting others should they find that it's less valid than their own ideas. Sorry, go ahead.
I found this on the web.
What?
I'm sorry. You said doxastic, and I was asking my Apple Watch to define doxastic, whatever the word is, because I'm never clear on it.
Doxastically open or doxastically closed. It's a term Peter Boghossian used in his book, A Manual for Creating Atheists, which the publisher came up with the name for. He wanted the title to be something about epistemology, but that title would sell more, so of course the publisher gets to choose since they're the one doing all the publishing, and they're footing the bill for it. So anyway, he was talking about that, and my understanding is that it just means that you're open to changing your point of view. It's just a fancy way of saying you're open to changing your point of view, or you're closed to changing your point of view when presented with something reasonable and rational or compelling.
Gotcha.
Well, that's why I like the idea of using the colloquial definitions, because that means I'm more likely to not be stuck in my ways using a rigid definition and say, okay, well, maybe 10 years ago this was how people were using this word, but now it's different, and so it's more accurate, I think, actually, to use words the way they're being used currently.
Commonly, yeah.
And
like sometimes once you'll hear people say stuff like, well, in philosophy they define it as such and such, and well, according to whose philosophy, first of all, and secondly, when it comes to these definitions of words like agnosticism and atheism, people tend to look at philosophy of religion, a subset of philosophy that has a lot of theologians and theists involved, some of whom, at least, maybe many, who want to have a level playing field when they're debating with atheists. So they limit the scope by hobbling away this open non-belief part of atheism and say you must be taking a position. And the reason they do that is because they feel more comfortable because they're not entirely secure about their own position. So instead of and so it hides their insecurity, so they can have an avenue of attack. And this is what I push against. Like, I don't hold the position that deities don't exist. I just don't believe in them. So when somebody comes along and tells me that I'm taking that position, I push back and say, no, I don't take that position. Don't push this burden onto me because it doesn't work. It doesn't apply to me. And so this back and forth goes, and some people like to twist things around. It really, I find that it comes from what I can see. It looks like it comes from a position of insecurity, because if you're in a debate and you're certain that your position is right and you can fully defend it, then it really shouldn't matter to you if the other side takes a position or not.
Yeah. And I find it kind of rude when somebody tries to tell me what I think.
Yep.
And,
or they tell you you can't help but make a decision on it. I'm a free thinker. I'm with Aristotle on this. It is the mark of an enlightened mind to be able to consider an idea without accepting it, or something to that effect, is what Aristotle said. So basically, he's pro free thinking.
So doxastic comes from a Greek word that means belief or opinion, and there's something called doxastic logic. And so it's a what a sixpenny word for, belief. Basically, it's about belief or pertaining to belief. So
and that's what atheism and theism is about. It's about belief and non-belief, contra respectively there. And then you have agnosticism and Gnosticism, which are epistemological, as they're about knowledge. So, and that's why these two parallels work. And the problem I find is some people are confusing themselves by saying, well, belief is a subset of knowledge, or others will say knowledge is a subset of belief, and it goes back and forth. Sure, whatever, but they're still separate categories. In my view.
And I am a hard atheist in that I have the position that no deity can exist.
Yep.
When you define deity as something with a mind or something that plans, and the reason for that is comes from probably 10 years of study in the field of neuroscience and philosophy of the mind. And so I have a very different understanding of my mind than most people do. And I know that my mind has to have body and world around it. And I know that it's impossible to have mind just floating out there in the ether.
Yep.
So from that, I would deny the possibility of a mind that has no body, because mind and body and physicality are one thing to me, basically. So
yeah, definitely 100% for human minds and minds for other animals, as far as we can tell. So I agree with you on that, because I'm not aware of any examples of a mind existing without the materialistic characteristic aspects to it. So I'm in agreement with you, but I don't take that hard atheist or anti-theistic position that you do, and that's fine. And as a consequence of one saying that they believe there's no deities, it's reasonable to conclude that as a consequence of that, and it's logical that you don't believe. So you fit the atheist classification, and that's just how it is.
So just an offshoot of your secular pagan mom. So I was feeling really Danny yesterday. I was just...
You missed him.
Anyway.
Well,
I miss him. I
have to sign off, but thank you for the discussion, Randolph, as always.
Yeah, I got to sign off and make dinner, guys. So we're probably going to shoot it in the head. But
if you're ever stuck, Atheist Junior, if you're ever stuck, the guest doesn't show up, you find out last minute, feel free to contact me. If I can fill in, I'll gladly try to do that.
Okay. Well, I'm supposed to have Jim Majors on next, so I think he'll show up. But I'll pick you up on that if he doesn't.
Yeah, and
we'll give him a reminder a day in advance. But he's a good guy.
I'm not worried about it.
But tell him I said hi. I like Jim. He and I we were debate partners in a debate in modern day debate one time, and it went really well. I thought.
Yeah.
And AJ, I just want to add to what Randall said there, that don't call me, I'll call you, okay?
Okay. Got it.
Later.
See you.
So anyway, I just wanted to just bring up a quick thing. So the idea of the supernatural drives me crazy, because it contains within it a whole bunch of baggage that nobody ever talks about. And that baggage is entirely human-like things doing magic, is what they're thinking about. They're not thinking about something truly crazy that would be, like where nature completely breaks down. They're always thinking about like somebody with their mind doing something. You know,
Right.
you know what I mean? So there's all this baggage, and they won't talk about the baggage. And when you try to talk to them about that, it's like, what do you mean by supernatural? You'll get into this long discussion, which still never addresses the baggage, right? Which is that our ideas of supernatural are seeing a ghost, which is a human that talks to you from the beyond, or doing some kind of magic, you know, making something magical happen. You know, like you're creating matter out of, you decide to create a Wendy's triple burger or classic triple for yourself, you know, and it just appears. But it's always this human idea of magic. And that drives me crazy, because what would truly be supernatural is if basically the laws of physics broke down in some small part of the world. Like if I walked into my bathroom and atoms and light weren't working at all, and I just disintegrated as I walked in, right? That would be supernatural.
Yeah.
But, you know, so they have this real narrow view of what supernatural is. And it drives me crazy that you can't get anybody to talk about that, you know, to say that out loud. That I mean a human-like mind doing stuff. And the same with deities. They always mean a human-like mind doing stuff. They never mean anything more imaginative than that, you know? And it is so goddamn such hubris to think that our human minds somehow are doing some major things out there in the universe. It drives me crazy. Anyway.
You always need to watch that Star Trek movie, you know, The Search for Spock, whenever you start getting too human-centric, anthropocentric, because it was the whale looking for other whales that was destroying our humans.
That was an interesting concept. A few years ago, a Christian...
Yeah, I thought that was episode 4.
Yeah, a few years ago on Twitter, a Christian had asked atheists, what would it take to prove to you that their God exists? Right. So I wrote back, because their God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnichronological, etc. And I wrote back, if your God gave me 2 characteristics for a fortnight, for about 2 weeks, then I could do some experiments and test for myself. And those characteristics would be omniscience and omnipotence. So being all-knowing and all-powerful. And the responses I got, a lot of them, and this I think ties into your baggage point, they're saying, oh, you wouldn't need more than a millisecond for that. And they're trying to negotiate the amount of time I'm asking for instead of coming up with some other reason. And there's some other Christians who are praying for me to get this because they want to convince me. And some people will even assume that that's all my only criteria. I never said it was, but I'm saying that this would definitely convince me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have written to me since saying, yeah, that would do it for them too. And I would want, and for the omnipotence, the reason I want omniscience with it paired up is so that I don't screw up the universe or galaxies and do something wrong with the power. I need to make sure I know how to use that power correctly.
Yeah. If I were just granted omnipotence, I'd probably just sit there and not do anything for fear of fucking it up.
Yeah, exactly. I would actually be able to put it to good use and know that I'm not going to mess up anything. One of the things I'd want to do is go to some big empty expanse in the universe and experiment with this power, create a whole galaxy, and then do stuff with it, and then destroy it and leave it all clean again. You know, there's stuff like that I'd like to do. And a bunch of people even said they'd like to come with me on such a trip. And I said, okay, then I could make a giant Starship Enterprise and with multiple bridges, because lots of people want to be on the bridge and they could each have their own bridges, and they could all go around and they could bring their science equipment and do observation, and we could go to different places. It'd be quite a good trip. And then somebody asked me, so where do I sign up for this? And I said, oh, you wouldn't have to. I'd be omniscient. I know.
I think what I would do is
want to be contacted.
I would create this vast void out there and somewhere in the universe, and I would take Danny and Otangelo and put them in it.
Oh, come on. You have all this power and knowledge available to you, and you do something so
I'm a simple man. I have simple needs.
Why don't you bring the raccoons on an adventure with you instead, and have something, do something enjoyable?
Oh, intelligent raccoons. That would be great. An
See,
army of
this is
intelligent raccoons. Yes. Anyway, I got to go make dinner, guys, so I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, it was a great discussion today.
Yeah, even if I screwed everything up about the guest, I probably insulted him.
Oh, well.
Well, as long as you can have a good conversation, you haven't really screwed much up, because
Yeah.
it may not be the topic you expected, but you might make a
I
friend.
hope part of that wasn't my fault.
No.
Actually, Scott, thank you for your question to me. I appreciate that very much.
Hey, no problem.
So I'm guessing no Sonata tonight, Speed, right?
I think when we go on Gur's stream, if he's still running, we'll do that. And yeah, probably no Sonata tonight. Maybe tomorrow night. Okay. Anyway, okay, shooting in the head. Goodbye, cruel world.
Bye.
Bye.